Who's in? That's been the phrase of the college football playoff since it launched back in 2014. But now, for the first time ever, we have a 12-team playoff. Championship Saturdays in the books. I'm going to react to today's action, last night as well, if you want to count Boise State. And then, toward the end of this video, I'm going to give you my projected 12-team bracket. Welcome into Verts. Thanks for joining us here on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning. The College Football Playoff Committee has some things to think about overnight, as they will reveal to us tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time which 12 teams make the college football playoff. We bring you guys videos every single day here on this channel. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. We're less than 150 away. If you want daily NFL coverage, college football, if you want us to do some college football playoff live watch parties where we kind of sit here, hang out, and break down the games that are happening, hit that subscribe button. We're going to have you covered here on Verts. Okay, let's start with the Big Ten Championship, as this is probably the most, I guess I can't say the best game of the day. SMU Clemson, a lot of drama there. We'll get to that in a second, what that means for the final spot in the CFP. But really high-scoring affair. Oregon wins an entertaining one, 45-37. I thought Penn State battled, especially offensively. Drew Allar did some good things, but Drew Allar giveth, Drew Allar taketh, threw a couple of picks tonight. Dylan Gabriel was fantastic. Super efficient, and we'll get to the SEC, but with Texas losing earlier, this essentially became a win and get the number one overall seed game, and Oregon found a way. James Franklin comes up short again in a big-time game, but I thought they showed out well. I will say this, I do kind of just want this on the record. Everybody was tweeting about how awesome this game was, and it was, and I agree. But if you replace the Big Ten patch on their jerseys with a Big 12 patch, the last 20 years, everybody's bitching about, oh, Big 12, they don't play any defenses. There were a lot of plays in this game where you're just like, defense felt kind of optional on that play. Again, I thought it was an awesome game. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we've seen similar games played in the Big 12 where you're just like, oh, well, they don't play defense in that conference. 82 points in the Big Ten Championship. Now, listen, I was entertained. I like that type of football more than 13-10. Yeah, Oregon once again found a way, 13-0, only unbeaten team left in college football. They will be the number one overall seed. Penn State still in a good position. They will be somewhere between 6 and 8 probably. I'll get to my projection here in a little bit. They should, barring some weird committee decision, host a first-round game in the college football playoff. So they're in a good spot. We'll see if James Franklin can win some big games in the CFP. Okay, this is where things get interesting. Clemson walks off SMU 34-31 on a 56-yard field goal. Will likely be, I put the 12 seed, the more I've thought about it, I actually think they would be the 11, but 11 or 12, doesn't matter. They're in the playoff. They're going to get the 5th automatic bid, which is the 5th highest ranked conference champ. I don't think they will jump Boise State or Arizona State. I think those two teams will get the 3 and 4 seeds as the part of the 4 highest ranked conference champs. And now the internet debate right now is, does SMU or Clemson get the final spot in the college football playoff? Obviously, there's going to be arguments for both. SMU 11-2. I thought the way they played in the second half sent a strong message. They felt like the stronger team by the end of the game. They just ran out of time. They tied the game, gave up a long kickoff return, which gave Clemson a chance to complete a pass and make the long field goal. Watching this game, what I thought early on was, this feels like SMU's never played in a game of this magnitude, because they basically haven't in 4 decades. Whereas Dabo Swinney has played in these type of games for the last 15 years, and they came out hot. Cade Klubnik was cooking. SMU couldn't get anything going. Their defense got blitzed early, but they settled in at halftime, rallied in the second half, erased a 17-point deficit to tie that game at 31. So to me, and this is just my opinion, I think SMU did enough to hold off Alabama and get into the playoff. Now, we'll get to my projection at the end. Obviously, Alabama typically has gotten the nod in this type of situation since the playoff launch. The committee loves them. They've They're ahead of a couple of other teams that I think are more worthy coming into this week, including Ole Miss, South Carolina. It would not shock me, and you should not be shocked if Alabama gets the nod here. But I think with SMU doing what they did in the second half, being the only team coming into this weekend outside of Oregon, excuse me, for being undefeated in the regular season in their conference. Obviously, they lost to BYU out of conference by 3. I think SMU did enough. Now, Alabama has better wins. They beat Georgia, who just won the SEC. Their losses, though, I can't get over. They lost to 6-6 Vanderbilt, 6-6 Oklahoma, the latter of which was 2 weeks ago by 3 touchdowns. I just, whereas you look at SMU's losses, by 3 points tonight against Clemson, in which by the end of the game they felt like clearly the stronger team, and by 3 points against BYU, who's a fringe top 15 team that won 10 games in the Big 12. I don't think we should punish SMU for playing in their conference championship game and losing by 3 points. If it was going the way it went in the first half, I would understand. I'd be like, you know what? They got to this game, they shit the bed. But they lose by 3 points on a 56-yard field goal, and you're going to put a very flawed Alabama team and resume in. Alabama's whole resume is kicking Georgia's ass for the first quarter and a half. They got destroyed the rest of that game, but it was such an uphill climb for Georgia. Bama held on to win by 7. I don't know. To me, I would go SMU. You guys let me know in the comments. Not what you think will happen, what you think should happen. Who should get the final spot in the college football playoff? Alabama or SMU? If you just ask the whole country, who do you think the committee will choose, Bama or SMU? Most are going to say Bama. I'm going to hold out hope that the committee does the right thing and picks SMU, but we'll see what happens. I do think it'll come down to those two teams. All right, the SEC Championship. Texas had so many chances here. They really, really did. They lose 22-19 in overtime to Georgia. They outgained the Dogs by over 200 yards in the first half, yet we're only leading 6-3 due to penalties and missed field goals. Bert Auburn missed a couple of field goals. Georgia, kind of a funky season, but they're going to end up being the number 2 seed more than likely behind the Oregon Ducks. Now, an interesting thing is Carson Beck suffered an arm injury, and a lot of people on the internet think it could be similar to the Brock Purdy injury, the elbow issue he suffered in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. And if that's the injury, he will not play in the CFP. Their backup, Stockton, I'm forgetting his first name, but Stockton came in and honestly rallied Georgia, played pretty well in the second half. Now, as the game went on, he kind of got exposed a little bit. So, I don't view Georgia as a team that I would pick to win the national championship if Beck can't play. And I'm not even a big Beck guy, but the backup, if you limit him as a runner, I think he's got clear limitations. But I'll say this, if you're a Georgia fan, be happy you won this game, because if you lost, I still think they would have been in, but they could have Florida Stated you, where it's like, you've got 3 losses, your quarterback's hurt. Maybe we'll put South Carolina in. But with them winning, they get the automatic bid. Texas, arguably in the best position possible. I think there's a good chance they're going to get the 5 seed, and many believe that's the best path to making a deep run, because they'll play the 4 seed in the second round if they can get past the 12 seed in round 1. So Texas will host a playoff game in Austin, but man, they'd like to have this one back. I thought they outplayed Georgia for a good chunk of this game, but ultimately the Dogs found a way. Okay, Big 12 championship game. It feels like a week ago now. Arizona State smoked Iowa State 45-19. They'll be either the 3 or 4 seed. I think there will be some debate within the committee of should Boise State or Arizona State be seeded and ranked higher. We'll see. Remember, coming into this week, Boise was ranked 10th, Arizona State 15th. So that's a lot of real estate to run down if you're Arizona State. And it's not like Boise State squeaked by UNLV. They won 21-7. I would expect Boise is still going to be ahead of them, but I think there's a discussion. I personally think Arizona State should be ranked higher. Tougher schedule, more quality wins. But the committee has liked Boise this whole time, and I like Boise too. They almost beat Oregon earlier this year, but that is kind of their strongest resume point, is a game they almost won. So I'll say this. Arizona State feels like a dangerous team. They're hot. They're playing well at the right time. Scadaboo at running back. I hope he gets a Heisman invite. I think he's deserving of being in New York. Sam Levitt at quarterback's really good. Kenny Dillingham might win National Coach of the Year. He already won Big 12 Coach of the Year. So we'll see how that plays out. But good for the Sun Devils. They were picked dead last in the preseason poll in the Big 12, and they won the conference. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, so here it is. Bama, SMU, who gets the final spot? I've got the Mustangs making it. This is my projected bracket. And again, the top 4 seeds are the 4 highest ranked conference champs. Oregon will obviously be the 1 seed. Georgia will jump up and get the 2 seed. I think they jump up to number 2 in the rankings overall for what it's worth as well. Boise State gets the 3. I'll give them the nod over Arizona State based on what I think the committee will do. I just think the gap between number 10 and number 15 heading into this week, that's a lot of ground to make up. But if you're Arizona State, who cares? You're still getting a first-round bye. Feeding into that game, how about this? An all-Texas matchup. Number 5 Texas, number 12 SMU feeds into that one. I think Clemson jumps up to the 11 seed because they did beat SMU head-to-head. They faced Notre Dame in an 11-6 game. That would be in South Bend. That would feed into Boise State. Ohio State, I think they are ahead of Penn State here because both have 2 losses now. Ohio State beat Penn State head-to-head. They also played Oregon closer. They lost by 1 point in Autzen, whereas Penn State just lost by 8 points on a neutral field. I think the head-to-head comes back into play, and I think Ohio State's the higher-ranked team. That means they would play number 10 Indiana, and then in a rematch, by the way, in Columbus. And then Penn State still gets a home game. They're the number 8 seed. They'll take on Tennessee in Happy Valley, who would be the 9th seed in this scenario. And look, maybe I'm giving the committee too much belief. I don't know why I would do that because I've seen them make bizarre decisions over the years. I think Alabama's out. I think Alabama's out. I think tonight was the worst possible outcome for the Crimson Tide. I think SMU losing close was the worst scenario Bama could have. They needed Clemson to either just lose, because then SMU would have gotten a top 4, Bama gets that final at large, or they needed Clemson, what they did in the first half, to keep that going, to dominate. But for SMU to come all the way back, look like the stronger team, like the team we've watched over the last 3 months, and fall short on a 56-yard field goal, I mean, if you're the committee and you're like, yep, Bama gets the nod, I think that's poor taste for SMU to get punished for losing by 3 in their conference championship game when Alabama was sitting at home after 2 weeks ago getting blown out by Oklahoma. I think SMU's in. I think Alabama is out. And I think those are your 12 teams in this year's college football playoff. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. By the way, join myself. I'll be with Tyler Jones, producer Jack Lauderay on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel tomorrow morning around 11:15 a.m. Eastern time, getting you ready for the bracket reveal. We'll debate, we'll discuss, we'll go over it all on Chat Sports. So go check that out. Also subscribe here to 4 Verts. We'll have a video either late Sunday, probably Monday. We'll get back into college stuff. We'll do some NFL on Sunday. But probably Monday we'll get back into college. We'll preview the bracket, and I'll go through the full bracket, give my predictions on who wins the national championship. Might do some individual game previews as well, so stay tuned for that. My name is Harrison Graham. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening.